OER in African elementary schools. Our presentation will provide a description of, as well as present the initial results from a project initiated in July of 2023, and its initial phase is due to conclude in March of 2024. The project was seed funded by a grant from the Creative Commons Open Education platform and has been granted additional support from STEAM Foundation NPC of Durban, South Africa, Sabia of Minneapolis, USA, and Siemens Stiftung of Munich, Germany. This presentation is about the work undertaken in schools in both Ghana and South Africa, led by Peter Amabile and Nomvoyo Umgoti, respectively, working with Catherine Curate of STEAM Foundation, Henry Benson from VVOB, and inspired by and collaborating with Dan Maguire from Sabia. I'm Catherine, and Dan and Nomvoyo are with me today. Peter will join us virtually later. Our project addresses both innovation and praxis, a theme of the Open Ed 23 conference, through enabling the use of open education resources in under-resourced schools in Africa. It represents an innovative application of OER and curriculum design adapted to the context of two countries in Africa, namely Ghana and South Africa. They both face similar problems in providing education at all levels, and especially at the elementary level. A particular problem in both countries is the availability of appropriate reading material in the mother tongue, and both countries have national requirements that instruction is to be provided in the student's mother tongue for at least the first 3 years, and then gradually transition to a second language, which is usually English. Ghana and South Africa each have 11 official local languages for a total of 21 different languages. The catch-22 is that neither country is able to provide comprehensive sets of materials in the local languages at a low to no cost that are readily accessible. Lacking resources or the funds wherewith to purchase such critical resources, teachers are left to make it up on their own with chalk and chalkboards. Our project provides a solution. Editable digital books are provided via a credit card-sized, inexpensive portable server that does not require internet access to operate. Students access the server via inexpensive Wi-Fi only devices. Teachers are trained in the process of translating and creating appropriate assessments in both English and the local languages, for instance, Dagbani in Ghana and isiXhosa in South Africa. This project is replicable nationally in both countries and for all of the various local languages, which would benefit millions of students. The project also supports the attainment of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development and fosters inclusive participation. In our presentation, we have focused upon the concept of better sharing within open sharing in terms of the criteria of contextual, inclusive, just, equitable, reciprocal, and sustainable. Before we illustrate those qualities of our innovative practice, however, what is it that we are doing? The MoodleBox project is situated within K-12 education in Africa. It has 3 components to it. The first component focuses upon creating, sourcing, and curating open education content and translating it into mother tongue while ensuring it aligns with the curricula of the educational departments. Secondly, we are implementing the OER content on an open learning management system on a small and inexpensive portable server that does not require internet access and can operate for several days on charge from a battery pack. Finally, we are creating professional development courses for teachers to support their implementation of the OER curriculum. These courses will be openly licensed and shared via MoodleNet, an open access repository. The context within which we are working is that of poverty, unemployment, and associated low resources, including intermittent electricity supply and extremely high data costs. The MoodleBox addresses these issues by providing a low-cost, zero-data solution that enables open education resources to be loaded onto an open-source learning management system, Moodle, that allows asynchronous learning and does not have to be online or plugged in all the time. This provides a technical solution to the issues we are dealing with. However, we are also faced with a relative lack of OER materials, specifically those in languages such as isiXhosa, isiZulu, and Dagbani. There is also not much material that relates to the environment specifically. In addition to the use of English language materials, there was a special emphasis on incorporating materials edited and adapted for and translated into the local languages using ChatGPT. Economically, there are great inequities with which we have to contend. South Africa has arguably the largest Gini coefficient gap in the world at 63, in large part attributed to a youth unemployment of 50% and an adult unemployment of between 33 and 40%, depending on how you look at it, while Ghana's Gini coefficient is 51.1. Both of these indicate wide gaps between the rich and the poor. It is quite evident that OER are required to bridge the gaps to enable quality education at an extremely low cost. Inclusivity includes ensuring that the first books to which you are exposed are in your language and reflect your world. There is much research that makes it abundantly clear that the first exposure to literacy in your mother tongue is a fundamental foundation for academic success. A lack of easily accessible and inexpensive books is a huge impediment to education, and feelings of psychological safety and well-being are enabled when the people in the books look like the child reading them and are in the language the child talks. You will also hear Peter talking about how the project fosters inclusive participation by girls in Ghana. From a social justice perspective, given the context within which we are working, there is a clear moral and ethical imperative to bridge the wealth divide and make their playing field just that much more level. A country's future is dependent on how well its education works, not just for a privileged few, but for everyone. And this is one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Reciprocity is about both giving and taking. In the world of open, much as we have taken content from others who originally created the OER, we are giving back to others through the curation, translation, and putting this content onto an LMS for others to access and use, thereby saving teachers the time and effort of generating materials and enabling them in turn to focus on all the other very many aspects of teaching. Sustainability has many components to it. There is the sustainability of a project in terms of funding. And when you can do a lot with a very little, it makes for a compelling case. When costs are low, scale and impact can be extremely high. And scale and impact can only be ensured when the costs are low, but also when the impact on the environment is low. The MoodleBox is a low resource device by default. Over and above that, we specifically sought OER materials or started creating them that address the UN Sustainable Development Goals and UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development, thus supporting the attainment of these goals. Now, Dan Maguire will introduce Peter Amoabel.
Peter was first to deploy the MoodleBox in the northern region of Ghana. Peter is a teacher at Kanvili Nuria Primary School in Tamale, Ghana, and he's founder of Rural Literacy Solutions, which is a Ghanaian nonprofit that provides extra resources for a group of schools in the northern region. I met Peter a little over a year ago after I had begun exploring the possible applications of MoodleBox. We connected when Peter posted on LinkedIn about sourcing literacy materials for his group of schools. Peter is a very talented innovator, and he's totally dedicated to improving literacy in his community and beyond. So let's hear what he has to say about MoodleBox and OER.
My name is Peter Amoabel. I am the Executive Director of Rural Literacy Solutions. I'm also a teacher at Kanvili Nuria Primary School. I am excited to tell you about a combination of powerful tools that is changing the way we learn in our classroom. That's the MoodleBox and OER. The MoodleBox is a portable server that can provide free, accessible OER content to students without internet connectivity. And as you can see in this picture, that's my students using Wi-Fi devices connected to the MoodleBox portable server in our classroom. We don't have any internet connection in our school. What I normally do is that I use my cell phone mobile network to download the books from the African Storybook website, and then add the downloaded books to the portable MoodleBox server in the classroom. And as you can see in the next video, that's my students reading one of the books we downloaded from the African Storybook website, and they are reading it in the Dagbani language, that's their mother tongue. And because it is an OER book, it could be legally translated into the student's mother tongue. And in Ghana here, it is almost impossible to find books in Dagbani, printed books in Dagbani. So the MoodleBox is a great benefit for the students. I've also created courses that I share with other teachers, and also created comprehension and assessment in Dagbani so that I can share it freely with other Dagbani speaking teachers to also use it in their classrooms. So I must say the MoodleBox and OER has benefited us a lot, both teachers and students, especially with the girls in our project schools.
Now let's look at some of the details of translating a book into the student's mother tongue. Here's a book in English that we found on Pratham Books Story Weaver platform. The work is licensed CC BY International, and the attributions page clearly states that content under Creative Commons licenses can be downloaded, translated, and even used to create new stories, provided you give the appropriate credit and indicate if changes were made. So we did that. Here's the first page of the book. Remember, this is a first level reading book. Here's page 2. And we used ChatGPT to translate the words into Isihosa in a new book. This means lion runs. And here's another example. In this kindergarten level book, we only needed to change one word on one page that ChatGPT got wrong within the context. Some of the nuances were missing with the correct prefix given the different noun classes of Isihosa. Generative AI relies on statistical modeling, requiring a large data set for accuracy. And when languages don't have as many texts for training, there will be some deficits. We think, though, that we've established a sustainable process for translating other books and incorporating them into MoodleBoxes.
I'm Nomvuyo Mgoqi, the principal of Khulisani Child Development Academy in Langa, Cape Town, in the Western Cape. In creating the answer options to this comprehension question on MoodleBox, ChatGPT was a little off, as there was clearly insufficient training data regarding the requirement for suffixes in a language with a large number of noun classes like we have in isiXhosa. However, it was certainly a fine start, and it only took me a few minutes to make those corrections. And that was true of all the 5 questions for this quiz that we created using the ChatGPT. The corrected quizzes in isiXhosa will be uploaded to MoodleNet so that any teacher in South Africa or anywhere else that wants to use the quiz after they've downloaded the translated book, which will be available on both African Storybook and MoodleNet. Again, this is a model that can be replicated across Africa.
Beautiful.
Before creating this school, I worked at the University of Cape Town Schools Development Unit on evaluation of the Siemens Stiftung experimental project, studying the current state of teacher professional development in South Africa. Our research demonstrated that many teachers lack both content and pedagogical skills. And while the curriculum is adequate, teachers do not seem to be trained to unearth the embedded skills in the curriculum to reflect competencies and knowledge of the learners. It was evident that scaffolded interventions are required to assist teachers to develop the knowledge and skills required. Expert teachers placing the required content on a learning management system facilitates learning for all teachers and enables them to gain the required confidence and associated competencies. This is the process we are using in developing professional development for MoodleBox implementation.
Here are a few photos taken from Langa Township, indicating the different types of household in which Nomvoyo's students live. The MoodleBox project has provided us in South Africa with the last piece of the puzzle in terms of enabling OER at scale for impact in schools. We are grateful to the Creative Commons community, and particularly Dan Maguire, for engaging us in this innovative solution. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to our funders. This MoodleBox project was seed funded by a Creative Commons Open Education grant, supplemented with funding from Siemens Stiftung and Sabir. Excited as we are by all of this initial work, we know that these are but the first steps in enabling a solution for under-resourced schools in Africa. We welcome your participation going forward. Please do contact us. Bino, but I think we've got it.
I think we do.